the Broncos draft.
Ryan, what are your thoughts of the A's stealing Piscotty for peanuts?
My thoughts on the A's stealing Piscotty are literally that they got a player that's going to be energetic. So I feel like they got that much. They got a young talent. So my thing, though, is the coaching and the staff and the development, they're not going to do anything, so they're just going to waste away talent. So I'm going to say the Oakland A's aren't going to go anywhere in even 5 years. I almost want to put my career on the line as a sportscaster and say in the next 10 years, and that's just a trick of you.
Yeah.
Well, you're wrong. We got this guy for a steal.
He only batted .234 last year, but he was batted .300 as a rookie. And the Cardinals...
He was hurt last year.
He was. I think he's going to be good in Oakland, but we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
I'm on the Broncos draft now. The first 5 picks are in. Cleveland took Josh Rosen. The Giants took Darnold. The 49ers took Minka. The Colts took Barkley. And the Browns took Daron Payne at number 5, reaching for him. So Quentin Nelson's the best player on the board, but I think the smartest thing the Broncos can do is to get Baker Mayfield here at number 5 or number 6. What do you?
Yes, thank you, God. Here we are at the Denver Broncos and the fan base. We're able to finally get a quarterback with leader and veteranship. We're going to go ahead and take Baker Mayfield with the utmost respect to every other quarterback, such as Lamar Jackson. But unfortunately, in my opinion, Baker Mayfield may be the better. Like I said, they just pick him a draft, and to me, he's going to be successful wherever he goes. But now that the Broncos still have that defense, they still I don't care what people say. The Broncos defense didn't get worse. They only got worse because they were, well, I shouldn't say that. Their statistics are worse because they haven't been able to get the rest. They're on the field for so long. I made this argument week in and week out. I mean, the offense turns the ball over so many times, they just basically get tired. So that's why last night I was switching to Brock Osweiler, who ironically, Chris and I talked about it this morning. Ironically, Brock Osweiler only plays good when he's not underneath pressure, so go figure, right? That's also why I think that the Broncos just need to get Baker Mayfield, to get a guy that's energetic, who makes improvement after season as well, even though his numbers were, I think I shared down by a couple hundred yards. I'm willing to look past that. As a Broncos fan and as a Broncos GM in this scenario, I'm more than down to take Baker Mayfield because you have a guy that planted a flag in the middle of the field on another team's territory. I mean, how awesome is that? I mean, to me, that shows passion of the game. I hope that you would take up the Broncos flag and stick it in the middle of the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. So take that and the trolling at its finest, the Mayhem Clyde, and my friend Christine. So I definitely am so excited. Chris, thank you. The Broncos select Baker Mayfield and round one.
Oh, boy. We got posed here. We're probably going to have to wait until the 3rd round to take an offensive tackle. The Colts just took Archie Lewis out of Boise State. The Browns just took Brian O'Neill. So, and we got Timon Paris in the 7th round with the Colts last night. So we're probably not going to go offensive tackle here. We could go Mark Andrews out of Oklahoma, but Jeff Heuerman actually showed up last night. Anthony Johnson out of Buffalo would be a great addition, but I don't know if the Broncos are going to cut Demarius or Emmanuel to save cap space. But I want to take an offensive player to complement Baker, but I'm just not sure who we should take with no offensive tackles on the board. I'm not sure who we should take. I'd honestly rather wait until round 3 for an offensive tackle. What should we do here, Ryan? This is a tough situation.
You bring up a lot of good points, Chris. I mean, obviously the Broncos are going to be able to be where they're at in the draft in this position. So, I mean, that's a good spot to be in because at the same time, you want a receiver because you don't know if they're going to cut Demarius to save money or a standard. So you made a good point there because if they do, that shows that the Broncos definitely won't go for a quarterback in the 1st round because they'll probably try and use that extra money for a veteran legend or a veteran, I guess you could say, all-star player like the Andrew Luck type or somebody like that to be able to get on the team. So that's going to be a sign as well to see what the Broncos do in the offseason. So in this situation, Anthony Miller's tempting, but I'd also like to know who the next best part is on the board and the next best right tackle as well.
Well, the Broncos lose $3 million in cap space if they cut Demaryius Thomas. They can cut him in 2019, but they cannot cut him in 2018. So Demarius Thomas is on our roster no matter what. We can't cut him. It's a lose-lose situation where the Broncos lose $3 million if they cut Demarius Thomas. So I've looked that up, and I'm looking up the Emmanuel Sanders deal, and the Broncos can cut Emmanuel Sanders in the offseason. He turns 31, and they can save about $5.6 million against the cap if they cut Sanders. But Sanders has actually outplayed Demarius. I don't feel like cutting Sanders would be smart. He's actually outplayed Demarius at times this year. And when you consider Cody Latimer stepped up, when you consider that they have Carlos Henderson, taking a wide receiver here just doesn't feel like a smart decision. But the best player on the board's a receiver. So what will we do with this pick?
As far as, I guess, in this case, I mean, I almost think it takes one Andrews that
But Jeff Hooverman's a great tight end. He's a former Buckeye.
Well, okay, that's true. Well, Chris, I guess I'll take your opinion on what we should do with this one, because I mean, I feel like we could draft.
Even I don't know what the hell to do.
Well, I guess in this situation, we take the best player on the board and just go with Anthony Miller and see what happens. Maybe be the slot receiver since.
Anthony Miller's gone. Anthony Johnson out of Buffalo is on the board. Mark Andrews is on the board. So the best players are a tight end and a receiver. We could go with Carlton Davis, the Auburn cornerback, but I'd rather take an offensive player to complement Baker Mayfield here. The top lineman on the board is Jack Campos. He's a pure left. Oh, wait. Jack Campos is gone too. Wow. I'm surprised by that because I had Jack Campos on this board. Oh, the Patriots reached for Jack Campos in the first round. So the only offensive tackle with a second-round grade on the board is Tyrell Crosby. He's 63rd on the board, but if we don't take him, Crosby can play offensive tackle or guard at either spot on the offensive line. He's very versatile. And as a right tackle, he did very well as a true freshman right tackle versus both Joey Bosa and DeMarcus Walker. As a true freshman, he did very well versus both of them. I almost feel like we should take him because he's the only second-round offensive tackle, and teams are panicking, reaching for these offensive tackles.
You know, I agree with you 100%. I feel like I feel as though, I guess you could say I feel as though the Broncos here would take that pick with the offensive tackle position, because if he said he could play golf, that would make the most logical sense, because we also have a guy that would be able to add depth, so we can sit there and, to me, benching an offensive lineman is a lot easier to do than a quarterback or a wide receiver. So week in and week out, you can sit there and change up matchups and do different things you need to do.
And if he did well against DeMarcus Walker and Bosa as a true freshman at right tackle, why not get him and pair him with Bowles if he's the only second-round offensive tackle left on the board? I know it's a reach at this point, but it just makes the most logical sense.
No, it's not a reach at all, Chris. I mean, he's definitely a talented kid.
He's 63rd on our board, and we're picking 38, and he's 63rd on the board. So it's a reach from a value standpoint, but from a need standpoint, it makes the most sense because he's the only second-rounder left.
And Chris, and I also would like to point out that we can't do trades or anything either, because I feel like realistically in real life in this scenario, the Broncos would possibly do
yes, we can't do trades on Fanspeak unless you pay for the premium services, which I didn't, unfortunately. But if you want to do trades in Fanspeak, just pay the $5 a year premium, and you get access to all that good stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's not a bad price.
But yeah.
I'm going to have to sign up for one.
Yeah, Tyrell. We'll take Tyrell Crosby here, though. I know it's a reach, but he fits a need from the offensive tackle standpoint.
Chris, I guess, like, I hate it when you say that, though, because, and I know that's a strong word, but, like, I hate it when you say that, though, because it's not a reach when it's the team's need and the player's as good as he is.
Well, he's the only offensive tackle left on the board with a second-round grade. We had him at 63, and we took him at 38. So from a value standpoint, it's a reach. From a need standpoint, it's an understandable business decision.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you said it. You said it well there.
And we're looking at it from a need standpoint, not a value standpoint. So,
well, exactly. But I would also like to point out that he's a fairly good offensive tackle.
He is.
I feel like you're selling.
He is a good offensive tackle. I mean, he's going to be a great starter. So, while it may appear to be a reach, if you look at where we have him on our board, it's a need. So that outweighs the fact that it might be a reach.
Well, yeah, exactly. That was a good way of putting it. All right, Chris, who's next?
We're on the clock. Unreal. Unflipping real. Calvin Ridley has dropped to our lap in the 3rd round.
Hey, Chris, real quick. I just found out an interesting statistic. According to another resource based on GoDucks.com, you have Tyrell Crosby, who has not allowed a single sack this season in 2017.
Damn.
I'm reading this correctly.
That's impressive.
Hold on. Here we go. He has not allowed a quarterback sack or hit this season, and it sounds like Oregon is ranked 11th in the FBS, averaging almost 265 yards a game.
Yeah, and he's been a great pass blocker for Justin Herbert, the 2019 QB, the 1st round pick, and he's been a great run blocker for Royce Freeman at running back. So he's played both right tackle and left tackle. He moved to left tackle in 2016. He's played left tackle all of this year, but he began his career as a right tackle where he thrived versus both DeMarcus Walker and Joey Bosa in the very first college football playoff as a true freshman. So that was when they had Mariota. So he was a right tackle for Mariota.
I would like to point out, too, that I feel like I'd like to give the creator of this app a mad shout-out as well, because it's definitely it's a good game to be able to learn about your players, because right now, to me, Tyrell Crosby, he might not be available in the 2nd round if he has to combine right now.
Yeah, because I know some scouts have questions with him, but, like, he's too talented to fall out of the first 2 rounds. Too much talent. And that was a good pick for us. But, man, look at all the receivers that are still on the board in round 3. Calvin Ridley is still there. Auden Tate is still there. Lazard is still there. Simi Cobbs is still there. Burnett is still there. Gallup is still there.
Really?
Yes, really.
Honestly, I mean, that's a lot, but I would like to, just for debate's sake, Chris, we took Lazard yesterday, right?
Yes, Cortland Sutton got picked by the Browns. Kirk got picked. Wenicky got picked, but Calvin Ridley's still there.
Well, no, I'm just saying for debate's sake, just to spice things up, just for our listeners, I'm just going to go ahead and pick that different player. And I feel like he would also be somebody the Broncos would take as well. And I like his stats as well as height and weight clipping did. He's 6'5", 225. This is a guy I've scouted a lot. He definitely has shown that he's a playmaker, in my opinion. I mean, he's averaged at least.
I say we either take Calvin Ridley or Auden Tate, because we took Lazard yesterday with the Colts. It wouldn't be as fun if we took Lazard again.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's why I'm talking about Auden Tate right now. Is you have a guy too that's been able to be considered a rusher a little bit. They've been able to run plays with him, as far as they're not afraid to run around about. I mean, he doesn't really. He could be used like that, I guess, is what I'm saying. As a coach, you'd be able to manipulate the play a little bit and adjust it. You know what I'm saying?
We could also take Malik Jefferson here. I mean, we didn't take Malik yesterday, and he wasn't there in the 4th round.
Oh, we didn't take him yesterday. Okay, I thought we had taken him yesterday. I do apologize to the listeners.
We took Cameron Smith yesterday, remember? Because Malik was gone, we took Cameron Smith.
I would have to research more into it. to see which one of the Broncos linebackers might be up for a contract here in the next year.
Todd Davis is a free agent in the offseason, Ryan. I looked it up on Spot Track already.
But to be completely honest, though, if Auden Tate was available, I would hope that the Broncos might snag him up because I still feel like the Broncos, I'm not trying to say our receivers are terrible. I love Demarius and I love Sanders. But what I'm saying, though, is that the Broncos took this guy. You get a guy with more height and more physical build and somebody who's going to be a bigger playmaker. And it's actually going to benefit Thomas and Sanders because they're going to have better play from them. And I feel like strategically, he would be the best player for the Broncos to pick right now.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley and Auden Tate are both awesome picks here.
Well, okay, Chris, I'll tell you what. I'll do a spoke favor then. Let me go ahead and look up Calvin Ridley real quick. I would just like to give a quick shout out to.
There are people at CBS who have Calvin Ridley in the top 10 of their mock drafts, and he's in the third round. We got him. He's still there in the third round.
So, I mean, like I said, just go ahead and see who we can find here as far as providing stats for Calvin Ridley because, Chris, in my personal opinion as an analyst, I got to kind of see numbers to get a better idea.
Yeah.
So, I see where you're going with the logic of Calvin Ridley, but like I said, I was pretty stuck on Auden Tate as far as somebody I'd want to pick. But, you know, I'm looking at Ridley. I see a guy that went from a lot of production in his first year of play. He had over 1,000 yards receiving, and then all of a sudden it dropped to just a little over 760.
Yeah, and he played a lot of good SEC corners, and he rarely won any matches versus those corners.
Well, and then you also have to look at his receiving this season. He almost has 900 yards receiving, but he also only has 3 touchdowns as well versus the 7 and 7 that he's had the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So, to me, I would much rather have Auden Tate right now. Plus, he's 6'1", 190. The Broncos have drafted Henderson last year, so depending on health and everything like that, I feel like he'd be great for the Broncos to keep on the team. So I feel like Auden Tate with his build and size, he's the perfect pick right now, Chris, and there's nothing you can do to change my mind right now.
Even if we took Malik Jefferson here, because Malik is on the board, and Todd Davis, Denver's inside linebacker, is a free agent. So we could replace Todd Davis with Malik here. We didn't take Malik with the Colts.
Good. The way I see it is you have the Broncos defense who's already been known to be able to be a great defense and develop their players. I mean, you have a lot of guys that have come up and been able to make plays, and you have guys like Chris Harris Jr. as well that are great leaders on the team. So you have a guy like Jefferson who would definitely fit in and be an awesome player. I'm not even going to sit there and deny him any kind of star coverage or anything like that, but I feel like the Broncos player development and their coaches right now on the defensive side of the ball could be able to develop anybody. So I feel like we could wait until the 4th or 5th round even to, or not even the 4th, 5th round, maybe even the 6th round to pick up a great linebacker or even sign one in the off season.
We do have a second, third round pick, which is a compensation pick.
And I'm saying that the Broncos would sit there and wait during the offseason, and they would sit there and pick up a linebacker with that veteran leadership as well. Strategically, I feel like that's what the Broncos would do. So, like I said, no disrespect to Jefferson, but I feel like the Broncos would rather take an Auden Tate type player right now.
Yeah, and we have a second, third round pick. So we could get Malik with that second, third round pick. Thomas, what do you think? Ridley or Tate?
Well, I guess Thomas found his parents' stash of Playboy, so I guess what do you want?
Who do you think's a better fit for Denver, Calvin Ridley or Auden Tate?
Auden Tate.
All right, so you and Ryan both want Tate, even though Ridley's a top receiver on the board. I believe in draftocracy, the democracy of making a mock draft. You both have overruled me on this, so we're going with Auden Tate as Tracy's Redskins get Calvin Ridley.
Oregon State releases Seth Collins.
We're on the clock again. Malik Jefferson is there in the third round. So is this a slam dunk? We're going Malik here?
No, we're going to go with Auden Tate.
We already took on Tate.
Okay, good. Okay, sorry about that, Chris.
So with Malik still on the board in the late third round with our second third-round pick, do we take Malik here? Is it pretty much an open and shut case?
Okay, yes, Chris, it is. Sorry, I do apologize, but absolutely, I'm 100%. As a Broncos fan, we get a guy that's going to be able to. We have hard-hitting linebackers, but we don't have linebackers that are going to sit there and drop into coverage and be able to be athletic and hard-hitting, and I feel like that's
Fumagalli is there as well, but we passed on him, and there's some tight ends that might be available in the fourth round. So I think
I think Chris, you made a great case though for the tight ends. So I mean, I guess I'm not really concerned about the tight end position in that round. In that particular round, I'm still going to be able to look at. To be completely honest with you, I almost want to look at continuing to develop a defensive tackle or a defensive end going forward in this mock draft.
Yeah, the Broncos have 4 remaining team needs left: D-line, tight end, cornerback, and edge. And I'm guessing we'll address edge last because Denver's got Von Miller and they've got Walker. We can let those guys develop.
But Chris, Von Miller is a guy that's going to sit there and watch the quarterback and stuff. But I consider him to be outside of the manufacturer. I feel like DeMarcus Walker is going to be a great player and stuff, but he's going to need time to develop as well. I feel like we need to get another edge rusher to be able to pair with him. I feel like right now the Broncos need a guy that's going to be able to get them quarterback, so I feel like defensive tackle and also need right now as well. I want a big guy that's going to clock up the middle. That way we can keep having the success on defense as well.
Okay, we're on the clock in the fourth round here. The remaining needs are D-line, edge, tight end, and cornerback. I'm going to look up the top tight ends on the board here. Cam Serigne and Dallas Goedert are both available. The South Dakota State tight end who you really liked and did an article about, he's available if we wanted to take him. Looking at the D-line, Deshaun Hand is available. Reginald McKenzie is available. Loelo Tulele is available. Hill, Justin Jones, they're available. There's a bunch of players that we could get a little bit later if we kept waiting, but there's definitely a drop-off. I can definitely see where you're going with that. Edge players, Lewis, Porter Gustin, the USC edge rusher. Wimbush had double-digit sacks at Ball State. We talked about getting him with the Colts yesterday. Jalen Ferguson fits the 34 that Denver runs. He could complement Von Miller and Walker as an edge player for depth. And the cornerbacks available are Kareem Orr, the Chattanooga corner you loved at the beginning of the year. Perry Nickerson, the LSU corners are still on the board. The Stanford corners are both on the board. Danny Johnson out of Southern's a guy I really like. Jamarcus King out of South Carolina is there.
Right now I'm thinking the cornerback out of LSU. I'm pretty sold on that program right now. They definitely proved me wrong as far as being able to be a great secondary. So I got to say LSU coaching and development right now is at its peak in college. So I feel like taking one of their corners would be a steal right now.
We took Tolliver yesterday, and Ed Paris is coming off season-ending injured reserve, which is why I'm a little bit weary about taking Paris.
Oh, okay.
What do you think?
If that's the case, how would you feel about taking Orr then? Because I did like him at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I liked Orr at the beginning of the season too, and he's the top corner on the board. In fact, he's the top player on the board that fills a need. So,
I mean, to me, that would make the most sense then at that point. And, that's
yeah. Let's take Kareem Orr then. We're on the clock again. Wow.
Wow, really?
Yeah, just like that. We got another fourth-round pick from someone else. So we could go D-line, edge, or tight end. And I'm thinking we go with the South Dakota State tight end here because Mel Kiper has a first-round grade on him, as do a lot of people, and he's here in the fourth round. Or we could take Serigne. What do you want to do? You like the South Dakota State tight end. We could take him to compete with – we could take him to compete with Hubert or whatever.
Real quick. Do the two have different playing styles? Is one bigger than the other as far as height and depth go? Because I can't quite.
Dallas Goedert, I'll look his info up right now. Jeff Hooverman, 6'5", 254. Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is 6'4", 260. So he's a little bit smaller. But both McShay and Kuiper have a first on Dallas Goedert. And the reason I haven't moved him up is I do have him in the third round of my mock draft, but I haven't moved him up in the draft game yet because I'm waiting to see how I want to update the tight end rankings. I want to update the tight end rankings before. But Dallas Goedert's a top 5 tight end when I post my new tight end rankings, Ryan. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back.
And I'd like to give a huge shout out to those two as well, especially El Paso.
All right, so I'm back. Should we go with Dallas Goedert here? So that's a yes for Dallas. So that's a yes for Dallas Goedert.
What?
So we're going with Dallas Goedert here at this point in the second round, right, Ryan? Or fourth round?
Yes, absolutely. Like I've said a million times, let's go with Dallas right now. And still like Gronkowski, and he has a lot of different traits that I like.
Yeah, I have a top 5 tight end grade on him. When I update the tight end rankings, I'll have a third round grade on Dallas Goedert. I haven't applied those updates to the draft game yet because I'm going to try to get the tight end rankings up tomorrow. So I agree. Let's take him here because I think he's a third round prospect at the very worst. He might even slip into the first if he dominates the Senior Bowl like Kuiper and McShay are saying, because there's a lot of people who actually like him better than Brenneman. So Dallas Goedert to Denver. And then we only need a D-line and an edge player, and then we've addressed all of our draft needs, and then we can take the best player on the board. So, yeah, we'll see what – if we get any extra picks, we'll use them on running backs or whatever, or centers, or we'll even get Schlottman if he's there. We'll see what's available. But I think with only 2 more needs left, I'm basically going to let Ryan – make a lot of the rest of the picks. Well, I'm already letting Ryan make some of the picks, but I mean, after we address all of our needs, we literally have the luxury to let Ryan run the board and just take the best player available.
I'm still salty that you cut me off when I was about to do the Dolphins.
You know, since you're being such a good sport, we'll actually do the Dolphins after this.
Sounds good to me.
Well, The Rock back in the early 90s. It doesn't matter that I cut you off.
This is tough because this is a very tough decision because I feel like Tulele fills a huge need on the defensive line, but Bo Scarborough is the best player on the board in round 5, and for some reason I feel like Ryan's going to be very angry at me if I pass on Bo Scarborough here.
I would.
It doesn't matter what Ryan feels.
I would go all the way to Pennsylvania just to simply sit there and call you a jerk. And I would look at your dog, Chris, and I would tell your dog, Missy, that she was ugly because that's how mad I would be.
Dude, that's my dog's name.
My dog's name is Missy, too, and she's a black lab.
Mine's a Shih Tzu. She's a white Shih Tzu. Pure white.
So we both have dogs named Missy, Thomas. That's pretty fascinating. So Bo's the best player on the board. He doesn't fill a need, but he's the best overall player on the board. And he's there in round 5. So we're taking him.
Absolutely, 100%.
Let me just look at the top D linemen. Tulele, B.J. Hill, Justin Jones. Well, we can get one of the NC State defensive linemen. But I really feel like Lowell, Starr's little brother, fits.
Get the NC State lineman? Chris, let's get the NC State lineman. Come on.
B.J. Hill and Justin Jones are both there in round 5.
Oh, they
Lowell, low 2.
I like Lowell too. I think we should take Lowell here, but Ryan wants to go with one of the NC State linemen or Bo Scarborough. So, but I agree, Thomas. We should go. I think we should take Lowell. I mean, you even talked about how you liked his tape a little bit, Ryan.
You know, with the lineman out of Carolina State.
Well, which one? They're both.
Doesn't matter which pick, Ryan.
Man, you salty, man. I can taste you already.
If Thomas and I both agree on Lowell Otulele, isn't that majority? Isn't that majority rules? If we both agree, Thomas and I both agree on Lowell Otulele.
Yeah.
And I got overturned on Calvin Ridley earlier in the second round. So majority rules with draftocracy, we go Lowell Otulele here.
As an American, I will, because I'll find a good lawyer and beat that. No, it's not. I especially will agree to you guys' opinion.
Yeah, the only need we have left is an edge player, and I'm looking to see what edge players are on the board. Anthony Wimbush and Jalen Ferguson. Anthony Wimbush, the Ball State pass rusher that we really liked, is still on the board. But, no, there's no other really big needs. So let's take him, and let's address our final need.
All right. I guess let's go ahead and do that.
I'm guessing I think we still have some 6th and 7th round picks too, and we've addressed all of our needs in the first 5 rounds with the Denver Broncos.
I have to say, we're pretty good at what we do.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out who else we could get here at this point. I mean, there's a lot of good players still on the board. But we're 5 rounds into this thing, and we've addressed all of our needs. So we still do have 8 different picks we need to get up for the NFL. We need to make 8 different NFL predictions. We'll probably do that and then come back to the Dolphins draft, or we can do the Dolphins draft, whichever you think we need to do, Thomas. But we do need to get those picks up. It depends on how much time we got. If we can get this draft up before 3, then I'm open to that. Okay, it's round 6. We're on the board here. Rashaad Penny is still on the board in round 6, Thomas. Are we taking Penny, or do we want Kalen Ballage? We could get a running back for depth here, and Rashaad Penny out of San Diego State, who you've raved about, Thomas, is still on the board here. He's made it to round 6.
If he made it that far, I have to wonder if he's that good.
Kalen Ballage is also still on the board. Kalen Ballage, the Arizona State running back that you really liked, that you thought deserved a 2nd-round grade.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The guy I wrote the article on in the corner.
Yep. Austin Schlottman's also still available. He's the top center on the board. We could get Schlottman for depth here, too. You called him your Bay.
I could get Bay off the board? Man. I got to say, I'm going to go ahead. But we already addressed the line so early. See, Chris, I'm not so hesitant.
We got Matt Paradis at center, but we can get Bay for depth.
We can get depth?
Yeah. We got Paradis as one of the best centers in the NFL, but we could get Schlottman for a depth.
Well, you know, I'm going to go ahead and say I'll trust Thomas' judgment.
If we go with Kalen Ballage here or Rashaad Penny, who do you want to do, Thomas? Rashaad Penny still on the board in round 6. Should we take him or should we take Kalen Ballage?
Dude, I can't. Your background is really messing my hearing up. The background noise.
Yeah. Okay. So should we go with Rashaad Penny, San Diego State?
Or who?
Denver. He's there in round 6.
3rd round pick?
Yeah, him and Ballage are both there in round 6.
I like Devontae Booker, so I don't know.
Well, we've addressed all of our team needs for the Denver Broncos, and we have the luxury to take a value pick here.
Give him Penny.
All right, Denver's going with Rashad Penny. After the Ronnie Hillman disaster, I have to. As a Patriots fan, I have to bring up that the Broncos screwed up with Ronnie Hillman, and now they're taking another San Diego State running back. I just think it's funny to bring that up.
I mean, I liked Ronnie Hillman and stuff like that, but I mean, he was always too tiny for me. That's it. I mean, to me, it felt like he was more of a liability. He was a good reception running back. That makes sense. I guess what I'm trying to say is the Broncos didn't utilize him correctly for what he had, and he wasn't something as a running back that he needed.
Well, the Texans just took Austin Schlottman. So thanks to your decision, Thomas, Bay is off the board and Ryan can't draft him.
Thomas, we're going to have a celebrity boxing match now. I can't believe it.
Wait, what's happening?
Austin Schlottman, the TCU center that Ryan loves. He wanted to draft him here, but he was on the board.
What else is available? Okay, what else is available?
Well, let's find out. Round 7. I don't know when we're picking in round 7, but...
Oh, is Ryan mad if I don't pick Schlottman or what?
Yeah, Schlottman.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know what we should do here. There's a lot of options. The best player on the board is South Carolina corner Jamarcus King, who had 11 deflections this season. Trey Dempsey, North Dakota.
I feel like they need a safety because their safeties are ass.
Top safeties on the board are Chris Blair out of Elon, Trey Marshall, Florida State, Donnie Miles, North Carolina, and Kazir White out of West Virginia. Who a lot of... We've addressed all of our needs, and we could go with the best player on the board.
Who's that?
Well, we got Baker Mayfield. We addressed running back. We addressed receiver earlier.
Baker Mayfield's in the 7th round?
No, we got Baker at number 6 in the first round. Khaled Hill, the number 2 fullback, is still on the board. I have a high grade on him, the Michigan blocking fullback. We could get Khaled Hill, but I'm sure there's other picks. We took Timon Paris in round 7 yesterday. We could take him again. Or we could go with Bentley Spain as a left tackle for depth behind Garrett Bowles. He's on the board. Bentley Spain, I know you liked him, Ryan.
Let's give the Broncos a kicker because McManus is so balls this year.
Daniel Carlson, the top kicker on my draft, on my Fanspeak game, is available here. We could take him.
Let's do that.
Carlson would have been the top kicker in 2017 had he declared for the draft, but he went back to school, and he's playing in the Senior Bowl. So Daniel Carlson, the Auburn kicker, will get him to replace McManus. All right.
McManus has missed like 8 field goals this year. It's trash. See, Ryan, I helped you out. I got you a kicker.
You know, I won't agree, but I won't disagree.
We've addressed all of our needs. That's why Ryan's not upset. That's why Ryan's not going to choke anything.
He's going to choke himself. He's going to choke himself.
Well, Ryan Nall went undrafted in this thing.
Yeah, I'm okay. Overall, I think the Broncos won't have these.
All right, so this was a great draft.
Ryan Nall hasn't declared yet, though, Chris.
Yeah, I added him in the draft game in the preseason, believing he was a lock to turn pro. If he goes back to school, I'll take him out of the Fanspeak board.
Yeah.
Because he is in my running back rankings.
Anyway.
So that was an awesome draft by us, and since we addressed every need with the Broncos, we did an awesome job. We do need to go over picks for 8 different NFL games, but if you want,
the first 2 picks for the
All right. You just want to do 2 rounds for the Dolphins instead of 7 like we did with Denver?
Well, we don't have time, do we?
What do you think? Do you think we have time to do?
I don't. I have plans.
Okay. So this is what we're going to do. Ryan and I are going to go over picks for the NFL games. And Thomas, yeah, and I still wanted to go over goalies for MLS at the end too. So I honestly don't think we have time to do the Dolphins. But I did promise you the Dolphins, so we can either do the Dolphins next Friday, Thomas, immediately after our interview with Marcel Acuna, or we can do 1 round for the Dolphins now, or we can do all 7 rounds next Friday. The blood is on your hands.
The first 2 rounds of the Dolphins now, and then the rest Friday.
Okay, so we'll do a redo on Friday then. So we'll do the first 2 rounds. Honestly, I feel like only doing 1 round due to time constraints, but we'll do 2 rounds. But we're going to make picks at the same time. Like, when the Dolphins are not on the clock, we're not going to announce who else got taken. We're going to make NFL predictions for Draft Utopia. I think the 9th game we did was wasn't it Arizona and Washington? Pretty certain that was the 9th game. So that was the first game we were going to start with yesterday. So it's a who cares game, but I'm taking Arizona. Because they still have a shot at the playoffs. Washington doesn't. So that's my logic for taking Arizona. Arizona or Washington, guys?
Oh, Arizona.
Ryan? Arizona or Washington, Ryan?
He disappeared.
Maybe he hung up. He said he didn't have time. Maybe he called out of the show.
All right.
Yeah, I see 2 participants now on TalkShoe. I don't know if Ryan has disappeared because he said he had things to do. So
Yeah.
All right, my mic is muted. What was going on? My roommate is needing something for a minute.
okay, we need your pick for the Broncos. We need your pick for the Cardinals Redskins game, Ryan.
Cardinals, Redskins. I'll pick the Redskins. I'll say that the Redskins will probably go 35-23. I feel like it's going to be a pretty easy game.
Wow. In the Dolphins draft, Quentin Nelson, the Notre Dame guard, fell to Miami. I'm guessing that's a no-brainer, Thomas. We're taking him as a guard, the Notre Dame guard, since he fell to Miami. I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm guessing that's a no-brainer. Like, we're not even. All right. So, because I have at 4 on the thing for Fanspeak board as well as my draft game, I have him in the top 4. So, moving on, we've got the Eagles and the Giants in New York, and I think we're all taking Nick Foles over Eli.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm going to say the Giants.
I could see it. This game's not a lock on Draft Utopia by any stretch of the imagination. Tanya Holmes actually took the Giants in an upset. Because the game's in New York. Foles is playing instead of Carson Wentz. So this is not a lock. 4 out of 5 people are taking the Eagles, but it's not a lock by any stretch of the imagination. And then the next game is the Jets and the Saints in New Orleans, and I'm guessing we're all taking the Saints.
Oh, damn. Yeah, the Saints. Now I know why Seth Collins was released from Oregon State.
Well, Thomas, Mark Andrews is on the board in round 2. Are we taking Andrews here for the Dolphins, who I mocked to Miami in round 1? Or
Hell yeah, we are.
Christian Kirk's also available, though.
Who?
Christian Kirk, the receiver you loved, he's also
We
available.
don't need, yeah, but we don't need a receiver. We need a need.
Yeah,
So we're taking Mark Andrews.
he's the best player on the board, and he fills a need, so we're taking him. Okay, perfect. That was actually relatively quick. Hopefully it turns out that smooth next week when we do a full 7-round draft for the Dolphins. If you don't get those two same players, you're going to be pretty disappointed. So we'll see what happens next week if we try to duplicate that magic with the Dolphins. But, yeah, that will do it for our Fanspeak segment. Moving on, we've got the Saints and the Jets and the Saints.